When we start looking at isolation in the shoulder complex, we want to really think of the placement of the humeral head inside the shoulder socket. This is a very similar setup to that in the hip. However, the acetabulum or the socket in the shoulder is much more shallow. So especially if we have really floppy ligaments, it's very easy for it to move around. This is, of course, much more important for those of us with very flexible ligaments. People with stiffer ligaments won't have as much risk in this area, and their shoulder will usually stay pretty centered without too much thought. Those that have heaps of range, however, need to learn how to control the head of the humerus in that socket. As we talked about in the hip, if it is continually positioned forward, we can get irritation through the front of the joint. So we want to make sure our students know how to stabilize, especially before going into any arm balances, especially off to the side, as this is often where these shoulder dislocations happen. The feeling that we're looking for is very similar to when we did the heel squeeze to activate deep turnout muscles. We want a deep, slow filling rather than gripping on the outside. So we'll show you how to do this in a couple of different positions. So if Jade pops her arm up, you can do this on a small table or on the arm of a chair. It's quite nice. We just need to make sure that the elbow is forward compared to the shoulder. If you try and do it in this position, the shoulder will pop forward, which is exactly what we don't want. So keeping the elbow slightly forward. It's not about the shoulder blade, so the shoulder blade needs to stay reasonably still. We're just thinking of the ball that's at the top of this arm bone here, coming back slightly into my thumb. Yeah. And then release. So she does this by imagining sliding the forearm back with the middle finger hooked over to provide a little bit of resistance and bringing that ball back into my thumb. Beautiful, good. Hold, 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 and release. And again, beautiful. That's it. So I want to feel it coming back and these muscles gently filling from the inside out. I don't want to see this pop forward, and I also don't want to see the whole shoulder blade kind of sliding in and around. We can do it statically here. We can also do this when we're starting to add in any TheraBand exercises. So you can pop the elbow slightly out to the side. This is a stop-go man exercise. Shoulder blade reasonably still. Drop the head of the arm bone back in the socket. Keep that elbow slightly pressed down, then bring the back of your hand up. Beautiful. Keep that downward pressure. Beautiful. And then slowly bring the hand back down, keeping that top of the arm bone in contact with my thumb, and release. Good. And again, gentle activation. Beautiful. Then rotate that arm, keeping it really nicely placed in the socket, coming back down and release. Just one more there, just a little less with the shoulder blade, just right here. There we go. Beautiful. And we want to make sure we can do this so that we can control it with movement. Yeah. Beautiful. And if you're thinking of how to translate this into a contemporary class or something, just shuffle back a tiny bit, placing the hand down on the floor. Now, if you just let the shoulder drop forward in its socket and you go to take your load, it'll feel pretty unstable and the elbow will tend to pop out. However, if we think of the shoulder blade stable, bring the head of the shoulder back into the socket, that makes it a whole lot more steady to actually take load on. You see, she actually doesn't hyperextend the elbow nearly as much. How does that feel stability-wise?
Stronger.
Yeah. So you can just have a play with dropping into it versus stack my shoulder and I can take a lot more load. This is going to be much safer for the shoulder, whether we're doing work with our own body weight on the ground or whether you're doing any pressage work or partner work in acrobatics.